One day, a huge number of towers began to appear all over the world. No one knew why this was happening. Well, if you believe the words of people and those who followed them, they came from mythology. As if someone copied history, some people were happy to see the mythical heroes, but the situation was not in favor of humanity. The dungeon and monsters began to appear around the tower, and in order to protect the world from this scourge, people began to study the tower and clear out the creature's lair. People called them adventurers. The adventurers the guy watched on TV were amazing. They saved people thanks to their abilities, and their names were known throughout the world. It was for this reason that the boy decided to become an adventurer. It took a lot of effort to achieve my dream. He read a lot of books all the time, and his knowledge was greatly increased. And when the guy read almost all the books related to adventures available in the country, the guy's name was Khan. He looked at the board and hoped to see his name there. The main character was very happy when he saw his name there. He entered the Adventurers Academy where only the elite could break through. Khan looked at the piece of paper and soon he realized that no matter how hard he tries, he won't jump over his head. No matter how much effort he put in and how hard he tried, because he was always losing to his opponent, his body did not want to obey him. He was very depressed. He did not have a single unique ability inherent in a seeker. So Khan decided to take a sabbatical and stay in the dormitory. So this was 2 years ago, which means his classmates are already in their 3rd year. Instead of chasing an impossible dream, he began writing fictional stories about the swordsman who cut the horizon, about the hunter who spent his whole life in a forest full of mortal danger, and about the creator of magic who held strong energy in her hand. Khan wrote about what he could not achieve in reality. He almost finished writing his story, and it was very sad for him. And yet every story has its own end, and the guy understood this very well. The main character decided to sleep a little and then finish his story because he was very exhausted. Khan turned on the TV and started watching the news. The news said that the only owner of the divine ability of our country was named Rachel. She completed a mission in the USA and is returning to Korea. Most of the towers have been secured and we are getting closer to world peace. Khan said that it was incredible because she achieved everything at such a young age. After this, the guy fell into even more despair and told himself why he had no ability. He could safely say that he worked harder than anyone, but nothing worked out for him. He hit the pillow on his head and told himself to forget about it a long time ago because it no longer concerns him. Suddenly, the world is looking for new data to create a tower. After all, they discovered the ideal setting described in the novel that could be used in the tower. Khan woke up from a strong sound from the TV and said that he forgot to turn off the TV. The presenter on TV said that this has never happened before. 5 new towers were built in their country. They are called the Sword Cutting the Horizon. Performer of Evil Black Divine Spear. Khan jumped out of the sofa and could not believe what he heard. When people thought that they were approaching the world, new towers and dungeons appeared and expected damage. At the moment there are 7 towers. The association assumes that they will be from the highest rank. Khan was shocked because they had just mentioned the title from his novel. He looked at his laptop and checked the information because he thought that at first he was mistaken. The guy noticed that his work was missing, not even the originals, which he saved in the root directory. Tonight, the government is going to report these newly formed towers to the association with the priority of stabilizing the dungeon. At that moment, a blue hologram appeared before the Khan's eyes, in which it was written that his novel, called The Age of Destruction, was chosen by the world. The main character looked at it all with his mouth open and shouted what was happening. Khan could not understand why his novel disappeared without a trace, and the news mentioned new towers and characters with the same names as the heroes of his book. A new inscription appeared on the hologram that he received a unique ability of the only class unlocked. This skill was called immersion. Khan could not believe that such a mediocre person like him received a unique skill. The guy took a bottle of alcohol and started drinking it because he thought that it was some kind of nonsense, and he had found himself in another world. It was impossible to count how many times he tried to activate this damn ability. All his diving attempts were failed. Khan held his head and shouted that this was very difficult for him. Khan naively thought that the ability of a single class was cool. After all the failed attempts, he decided to drink more alcohol and went to the store because he had to find out all the possibilities for activating the ability. In the store, Khan met a girl named Siren. Siren is Khan's neighbor and the owner of the unique Ice World ability. They became friends when Khan studied with her at the request of her mother. Previously, she was a student of Khan, and now she is a student at the academy, but the guy never saw her at the academy. After all, soon after joining, she took an academic degree, but Khan himself avoided her because he was afraid that she had heard a rumor that he could not cope at the academy. Serene smiled and said that she had not seen him for a long time. Khan was very nervous. He was ashamed to admit to her that he was no longer at the academy. The girl noticed that Khan had been drinking all day and asked if he had eaten anything, Khan replied that he was going to buy something for himself and eat. Siren said that he should eat normal food and not fast food. Khan wanted to change the topic and asked the girl how she was doing. Siren realized that he wanted to change the topic. The girl said that Khan is a very famous academy. After all, she heard that the Heavenly Palace Guild offered him the position of analyst, and this is a very difficult job. The Heavenly Palace is one of the 3 strongest guilds in the country. They claim that you can't just get into them, even if you have high scores. The girl thought that Khan was famous for refusing to join the guild where everyone dreams of joining. Khan realized that she did not know that he simply failed the test and began to deceive that this story was true. The main character smiled affectionately and said that he would probably go home because he definitely wasn't going to tell this story. Suddenly, Khan felt that everything turned red. On the hologram, it was written that the author of the story had discovered Everton's energy. The guy looked back and couldn't understand why he was appearing here. Saren noticed that Han was behaving very strangely. She approached him and asked him if everything was okay with him. Khan noticed that some kind of black energy had entered this guy. The stranger fell to the ground and lost consciousness out of the blue. The girl began to worry and began to approach him. The Khan extended his hand and shouted for her to stop. This black flame surrounded the stranger on all sides. Everton follower summoned blood wolves. After all this, a portal appeared, which was located right in front of the Khan and Saren. Wolves began to emerge from this portal. There were quite a lot of them. All the people who were around were shocked by what was happening and began to run away from the bloody wolves. This was a group that tortures with fierce hatred towards the 7 heroes. They are ready to go over their heads to achieve their goal. Khan was at a loss because he understood that they were all from his novel. The girl shouted that they were obliged to save all people. The girl looked at Hannah and thought that he most likely had not yet received a unique ability. The main character said that he would fight these monsters and advised the girl to evacuate the people. Saren obeyed and ran to evacuate people. The main character thought that all he could do was run away and it would be difficult for him to fight them. Suddenly, the bloody wolf suddenly attacked him. Khan understood that things were bad. He began to run away and look for some object that could pass for a weapon. He took an iron stick and was ready to fight against these monsters. He was able to repel the first blow that the wolf struck. The main character noticed that, from this blow, his stick almost broke and was very bent. Khan didn't understand what to do. He looked back and saw how Siren was protecting civilians with his power. Khan hoped that at least now he would be able to use the power of immersion. A hologram appeared in front of him, on which it was written that the true author of the story used immersion and began to remember the plot of his original story. The book that Khan wrote every day for 2 years. Setting and characters, he knew everything about this novel. Then the strongest swordsman of the novel, the sword cutting the horizon, Khan decided to borrow its power. Then he shouted the word immersion and was ready to take its power. But the hologram told him that the difference in strength was too big. The probability of death after diving is 100%. The main character was in a panic and realized that he could not do this. He started trying more and more, but nothing worked. Then he was given advice to choose another target for the dive. Then Khan remembered that the character he is now thinking about is the one he will dive into. The dive was successful, and a powerful blue energy formed around the Khan. The tower is a weave of history and record. For example, if the story is based on Greek mythology, and the owner of the tower is Hercules, then everything that happened to him in myth will happen in real life. And now the heroes of Khan's novel have become the owners of the towers, and this means that all the people associated with him exist in reality. Even minor characters exist in reality. Soldier Maloon, a simple guardian guarding the gate, whose name was not mentioned in the book. His main task is to fight weak enemies. The main character began to destroy demonic wolves using skills. His spear skills are rapidly improving. His instincts also improve. He temporarily gained the skill of evasion. After seeing the power, the demonic wolves began to retreat. After this, Randy raised the iron stick using it as a spear and aimed at the wolf. Before throwing, he told himself that he should not miss. At this moment, the girl was also fighting. She discovered a new skill called the unique Ice World skill. She turned to the residents and asked them if they were okay. The girl was very worried about their safety. Surin asked them to follow her so that they could evacuate faster. She wanted to quickly find the Khan because she had heard that he did not receive the ability, but still, he was a student at the academy, so she was sure of him, that he should know what he was doing. She turned and saw the Khan standing around the killed wolves. After the end of the dive, Khan fell without strength but was conscious. He has successfully learned fighting techniques, and soon he will learn to use the muscles of his upper body. He began to experience extreme pain due to the intense force of the dive. He writhed in pain and could not understand where it came from. Sarin ran up to him and asked him in an alarming voice if he was okay and hurt and had something. The Khan replied that no, and his body just cramped because he hadn't worked out for a long time. The girl asked the Khan if he didn't say at the academy that he had no abilities. Khan replied that everything was so. The store was a complete mess. The girl said that he fought too well for a person who has no ability. The main character looked at this mess and couldn't believe that he did it. He looked at his hands and said to himself that he had become much stronger. Randy realized that his body was moving on its own when he was pinned in a corner. Then he realized that the training at the academy had not been in vain. Then the main character received a unique diving skill. Han did not know that it could be applied to secondary characters. Han understood that in this situation, he would not be able to use the dive and he needed to increase his endurance. The next day, he lay at home and rested. Suddenly, the phone rang and woke up the Khan. He looked at the phone and saw that a message had arrived from Siren. She wrote to ask him to forgive her, but Khan did not understand what she meant. The main character suddenly stood up from the sofa to make sure of something. He fell to the ground because his muscles were very cramped from yesterday's battle. He saw that he had 32 missed calls and could not understand why he had so many calls. Khan opened his laptop and saw that he had hit General News. The girl said that she did not plan to talk about it because she thought that Khan did not want to have anything in common with the academy. The main character did not understand how this article was published in a day. He did not think that it would become such a serious problem because it was due to the fact that monsters appeared outside the dungeon. The main character had never encountered anything like this before and thought it was an accident. He saw a message from the instructor who trained him at the academy. Khan remembered him with very bad thoughts because he did not understand why he was so interested in him. Now that the Khan's body has become stronger, he began to understand more how to use other abilities. He looked at the laptop monitor with very great joy and told himself that he could not sit idle. The next day he was on the subway, and I watched the news that when the towers first appeared, countless high-ranking adventurers tried to clear them. Those who managed it received the skill of returning. On the other hand, they gained fame and public attention. But the difficulty level of the tower has increased, and now it is almost impossible to attack. However, there were no fewer people wanting to clear the tower. Even after many failures, people do not stop. The Khan thought that they were perverts. Besides, there is a saying that you won't succeed there alone. It was very strange for the Khan that no one even entered the sword tower, not even high-ranking adventurers. This tower was the same as he had imagined it. At least he couldn't wait to look at her from the inside. When the main character reached this tower, he was completely tired. His face was everywhere. Khan almost fainted and said to himself that he was a great fellow for not getting lost in these forests on the way to the tower. Khan touched the stone and began to feel the energy of one of the 7 heroes. It was very unusual for him to see in reality messages that were previously in his head or on his laptop. Suddenly, at that moment, one of the guys turned to him. The main character turned and asked if he was talking to him. The guy noticed that it was his first time in the tower and said that no matter how strong his interest was, it was dangerous to just touch something here. The girl said that this stranger is right, because he can get into the tower by touching any object that belongs to it. Khan smiled and said that he would definitely not end up there and everything would be fine. The stranger thought that he was an ordinary person without skills. The guy began to think with sad thoughts that maybe this was for the best. Even if he got there, he would simply run away. Suddenly, he felt energy in his hand. It began to resonate with the tower. The hologram showed that the owner of the tower invited him as an answer. Khan couldn't understand what was happening. Suddenly, he found himself from another location. There was ordinary grass and trees around him. There was emptiness around him. He could not understand why he was here. One of the heads of the towers looked at him through the screen and thought that he was some kind of idiot and did not understand why he was making a mistake at the tower. He looked at him with a very irritating face and said that judging by his manner, he is the most ordinary person, but still for some reason he bothers him. Then the head of the tower took a closer look at him and said that this guy was hiding something. The head of the tower wanted to find out the whole essence and strength of the Khan. Then an idea came to him, and he decided to invite him to the tower to check who he really was. He decided to call him and talk to him a little. Hannah received a message that monsters would appear in an hour. He began to panic and said that he would feel very bad. An ordinary person without attacking skills entered the tower. This has never happened before. The main character read the book and thought that he offered a lot of strength to climb the tower. But in the end, the attacker is incompetent. He received this humiliating nickname after finishing last in a practical test. Even if a unique ability had awakened in him, he would not have been able to storm the tower. The main character hated his classmates because he believed that they wished him death with their disgusting behavior. A violet hologram appeared in front of him, on which there was an appeal to the Khan. The main character got scared and fell to the ground out of fear. Kan realized that he could lower the difficulty level. The head replied through a hologram that, of course, this is his tower, and he can decide how complex it will be. The main character shouted that he was Eden. The head of the tower was surprised how he knew his name. Kan thought that of course he knew him, because he was a character in his novel. Kan was afraid that Eden would differ for the worse from the work of his novel. Eden told him that within a few days of the tower's existence, he had become a real celebrity, and being famous was very tiring. After these words, the Kan understood something exactly like Eden from his novel. Eden is the main of the 7 heroes, a mediocre character who is the embodiment of the Kan, a boy who owned a sword, but had no talent in using mana. Then Eden awakened his power with the help of a mentor, found like-minded people, and went to the Devil's Castle. And after defeating the demons, he became a hero whom everyone respected. Eden is not only the embodiment of Kan's dream, so he was everyone's favorite character in Kan's novel. The main character began to smile because it was funny to him that he was talking to the hero of his own novel. I told him that I called him here and lowered the difficulty, and he needs to get out on his own. Kan couldn't believe that he was left alone, and Eden simply left him. The guy understood that he no longer had a choice, but on the other hand, he thought that if he could not cope, he would never have been called up. Kan told himself that he was inside his novel, so there must be a way out somewhere. He looked up and saw a large dragon in front of him. Kan understood that in 50 minutes, the monsters of the rank would attack all at once. Fortunately, the dragon did not notice the Kan. The main character continued to travel around this tower and noticed that everywhere he was, there was wet soil and thickets of grass. Through research, he collected information about the current location. Data is being searched based on the information received about the author of the story. Kan looked down and noticed that he had stepped on something. There were a lot of boards around him. He picked up one of the boards and thought that it was fragments of a ball. He was not sure that he could use them in battle because the tip was too strange. Kan noticed that Eden was written on the board. Then it dawned on the main character. Kan discovered the original entry for the first floor of the tower. This was the first chapter of his book, the place where a boy without talent awakened his genius. In a word, it was called the Eden Training Ground. This means that his awakening and entry became part of the tower. The first floor was called The Sword Began. Kan has acquired information about the era of destruction that appears in the first chapter of The Awakening of Eden. He received information about a small blog in the city center. But Kan kept asking himself one question. Why this particular chapter? Because Eden said that he reduced the difficulty, but it was a deception, and the difficulty remained difficult. Kan wanted to find out if someone could do this and go through this test. He promised himself that he would do it, and hoped that in some magical way it would work. After all, the more he focused on his failures, the more time and energy he lost. He swung the piece of wood and hit the ground with all his strength. Suddenly, he noticed that the earth was very soft and the piece of wood went very deep underground. Then the main character smiled and said that he had found what he was looking for. Kan took out a disgusting plant from the ground. Although it looks disgusting, this wonderful plant has a high probability of permanently increasing the level of magic. The main character said that it looked amazing. At first it was difficult to find this plant, but there turned out to be 50 or more of them. If it looks like fiber, then no one thought to. When Kan tried this plant, he almost vomited because this plant was very bitter. Although this is a good way to increase magic, this plant is very pungent. Kan held this plant in his hand and said that he couldn't fit another piece. He was very picky about food. At this moment, a message came that there were 45 minutes left before the wave of monsters. After this message, Kan began to eat this plant as regular food because he was in danger of death from monsters. There are 15 minutes left before the wave of monsters, during which time Kan ate more than 40 plants. He felt very bad from overeating plants, and blood began to flow from his nose. His perception of mana increases. Endurance to use mana increased. Body balance is unstable. He began to concentrate. The Kan hoped that he should have received enough mana after he ate so many plants. He wanted to put this energy into a wooden sword like Eden did. At this time, Eden looked at Kan from the side and was very surprised that he knew about braided leather coconut fibers. Moreover, he suddenly began to dig into the ground and ate them to increase his mana. But these plants do not exist on Earth. Eden was wondering where he learned this information from. In a small country, she was one of the royal magicians. After losing his comrades while enslaving demons, she began to live outside the city. There, I met Eden. At that time, he often injured himself due to using mana. She felt sorry for him and taught him to control Manu. Soon, Eden's mana stabilized. Out of joy, she became a teacher of magic in this village. Eden's first teacher. Kan understood that if it was her, then the conditions for the dive would be met. He swung his sword and hit the ground with all his strength. From this powerful blow, The energy scattered in all different directions. Kan laughed and shouted the word dive. Kan fulfilled the conditions for immersion into a high-ranking magician, Darai Marshi. The blessing of magic enveloped him. Eden was shocked by what he saw. After all, it was the teacher's mana. Eden didn't understand how he did it. Kan purified the released mana and collected it in his heart. Mana scattered throughout his body. Manu erupted into the sword spreads uncontrollably throughout the body. There was a disturbance in his heart. Excessive use of mana caused a disturbance throughout his body. Blood began to flow from the Khan's mouth, and this was very dangerous for his life. Iden held his head in shock and asked himself the question, who the hell is this kid, and how does he know how to control his mother? The sword crossing the horizon warns that Khan may die. It was practically suicide. The main character replied that he knew about this, but it was not that he was afraid of death, but instead of a miserable death from the inability to do something. Die having done everything possible to survive. 1,000 times better. With such power of energy, his body was completely covered with mana and there was wild pain. After this process, he remained alive and held this sword in his hand. He sacrificed himself for the sake of a sword cutting the horizon. The first floor was successfully protected. Kan fell to the ground motionless and died. The sword cutting this horizon pays tribute to the death of the Khan. At this time, a live broadcast began near the tower. The girl stood and greeted dear viewers. Many attacking adventurers gathered near her. 2 weeks have passed since it was built. However, not a single person has received the right to enter there. Will there be a hero who can clear the tower and stop the invasion of monsters? The girl approached one of the adventurers and said that this guy was a real celebrity. She said that this was a live broadcast and asked to interview her. The guy smiled impudently and said that he was a celebrity and allowed him to be interviewed. The girl said that 2 weeks have passed since the construction of the tower. And what does he think? Will someone who can clear it appear today? The adventurer said that this is impossible because the tower is connected to the sword, and this is true. Well, it's also true that no one has yet solved the mystery of the tower. The adventurer pointed his finger at himself and said that this was clearing the tower for such a handsome guy like him. At this time, a message came that the first floor had been successfully cleared. Everyone around could not believe what they heard. After this, a message came from Eden that adventurers would no longer fulfill the requirements to get into the tower. A strong newcomer appeared. The operators were overjoyed because a notification about the purge had just appeared. If they hurry, they can get an exclusive interview. The journalist quickly ran to interview the famous newcomer and stepped on the Khan. She could not understand what kind of person this was and who was also sleeping. The girl thought that he was sleeping even after she stepped on him, and for her, it was very strange because there was no one here and she thought to wake him up. At this moment, 2 directors shouted at her to hurry up or they would miss him. After 2 hours, the Khan woke up and there was not a single person around him. He shouted that he had cleared the tower. The main character began to hear voices and realized that it was the voice of Eden. Kan couldn't believe that he could talk outside the tower. Eden said that he is the only one with whom he can talk outside the tower and in the tower. Kan asked him why he can't do this. Eden replied that he did not know the answer to this question and would like to know the answer. Kan thought that Eden, as part of the tower, knew everything. However, he was wrong. Eden said that in any case, the Khan showed himself well. The main character thought that, like in the tower, it would be problematic to have such a guy nearby. Eden thought that he would not get bored while the Khan was with him. The main character stood up and said that he would probably go, and it was nice to meet him. Eden said that he would pursue the Khan all the time. The main character was shocked by what he heard. He didn't want Eden to pursue him all the time. Eden did not say goodbye to the Khan and simply went about his business. Khan thought that this was very selfish. The Khan's system immediately changed quickly. If he is the same as Eden, then it is impossible to stop him. It'll just make life a little noisier. The main character returned home and was very happy about it because he was very tired during these difficult days. He woke up and wanted to know what time it was. It seemed to him that his getting into the tower was just a dream and this was not real. He looked at his hand and felt a surge of strength. His body was covered with blue energy. The Khan could not understand what was wrong with his body because his body was filled with mana. The main character opened the notification window and wanted to check his statistics. It was written there that his mana increased 6-fold. Kan was shocked by the numbers because his mana increased 6 times, and he did not expect such an increase. The guy glowed with happiness because he had 7 new skills. At that moment, Eden appeared and said that Kan was a real simpleton. The main character asked him to warn before speaking. Adam said that he was a coward if he was afraid of just his voice. Khan replied that anyone would be scared if they heard the air talking. Edom said that he gave him difficult skills and advised him to look at the characteristics. Khan didn't understand why he should do this because he had just looked at them. Eden told him to close his mouth and look again. When the main character opened the characteristic again, he was shocked by such skills. The restrictions on the use of mana were lifted. The main character was beaming in part because he understood that he could work out and train to the fullest. In this case, the Khan jumped up sharply and said that there was no time to do this. Khan went in an unknown direction. Eden thought that he was going to train after clearing the first floor and said that he was a great fellow. Khan said that he was wrong and he just wanted to test his fighting ability and new skills. Suddenly, someone threw a can of soda that flew close to the Khan's head. This was a guy with red mana. It was clear that he wanted to destroy the Khan. He asked the Khan why he decided to come out only now and hid from him all the time. Khan immediately recognized his name was Yugal. He called the Khan a goat and said that they had not seen each other for a long time. Khan asked him what he forgot here and how he found it. And why did he only now decide to get out? Khan's classmate Yugal, possessor of a rare unique ability. Yugal saw the Khan's abilities from the news and invited him to fight. Khan recalled that in the past, Yugal mocked him as he wanted. Yugal said that the Khan is a little smart, but there is nothing special about him. Khan hated Yugal with all his heart. He could not think that they would meet again. Yugal came even closer to the Khan and said that he would beat him one more time to test his strength. Yugal grabbed the Khan by the collar and was ready to beat him, but he noticed that he had attracted a lot of attention and decided to let the Khan go. Yugal was afraid that the bomb would not see him. Yugal told the Khan that he was very lucky and that he should be ready for their future meeting. Yugal hit the Khan on the shoulder with his elbow and went his way. Khan told himself that he had to hold back and he needed to focus on his strength. After that incident, Eden said that the Khan was really an outcast, and he should have at least hit him in the back of the head. He was furious that Khan allowed him to just leave without any fight. The main character smiled and asked him to forget the situation because he doesn't care about fools like Yugal. Khan entered the tower and decided to test his strength. As soon as he logged in, they immediately began to study his data. The system immediately began loading his user information. The system asked him to select the difficulty. He smiled and told the system to set the difficulty to minimum. Eden didn't understand the Khan's choice. After choosing the easiest difficulty, he acted like he was the coolest. Khan replied that the system will still select the difficulty based on his abilities and magic. It is very important to climb slowly. The system began to collect information about the physical data of the subject. The collection of information was completed, and they summoned the weakest monster, an F rank, whose name was Golbat. The system asked Khan to choose a weapon for battle. To confirm your characteristics, the requirements must be exactly the same as during your study. The main character chose a sword and received this weapon. Khan raised his sword up and a strong energy formed around him. This all happened because of his skill. He felt enormous strength and lightness in his body, the same as during the dive. The main character pointed the sword at the enemy and said that it was just super and he liked everything. He defeated the weakest monster in just 5 seconds. He only needed one swing of the sword. The previous record was 32 seconds. With the improvement of the record, the difficulty was raised to low. Khan was very happy about this achievement and thought it was simply incredible because he reduced the record by as much as 29 seconds. Eden did not understand his joy because it was the weakest monster in this world and believed that even an ordinary child would beat him. His next monster was a diamond wolf. He was stronger than a Golbat. Khan promised himself that he would concentrate and give it his all. Yugal noticed that people were making a lot of noise and wanted to find out what was going on there. He saw Mr. Bomb in front of him. He was the attacking Zero Generation. He attacked the Tower of God Zeus and cleared it with 7 unique abilities. Yugal dreamed of meeting his idol. He understood that this was a chance to talk to him. He approached him and said that he wanted to become his student. Bomb said that it would be difficult for him to choose because he had just found an interesting comrade. Yugal wondered who it was who managed to attract his attention. He saw Khan on the screen and laughed. He believed that he was not capable of anything. Bomb pressed the button and began to communicate with the Khan. Yugal did not understand why he was communicating with this loser, because he considered himself much stronger than the Khan. The main character asked who was talking to him, because this was the first time he had heard this voice. Bomb smiled and said that he was very interesting. At this time, the Khan received a new task to survive an extreme cold for 7 hours. This virtual room is capable of controlling all 5 senses. It even allows you to feel the breath of death, which is why so many test subjects feel animal fear. Bomb looked at Nehan from the side and realized that he was not scared at all. Usually, they always try to avoid danger, but Khan was very brave or very stupid. Bomb told Han to come closer to this monster, and then he would know the weak point. The main character did not understand what he was talking about. He looked at this monster and did not understand how he could get closer to this monster. But the main character understood that he had no choice and only had to try. He attacked the monster with his sword, but it was too weak. Out of the corner of his eye, he noticed that something was shining on his paw. Then Khan thought that this was his weak point. He decided to try that these spots were his weakness and attack on this spot. The Khan decided to hit there with his sword with all his might. After he hit this spot, he defeated this monster with one hit. The hunting time was 4 minutes and 50 seconds. Bod shouted to the Khan to keep it up, and he needed to continue training and fighting in the same spirit. Yugal watched this battle from the side and could not believe that this was the same Khan whom he beat from all sides. Bod asked Yugal if he knew this guy. Khan came home. Eden said that he was very exhausted and began to laugh at him very hard and said that he was a real weakling. The hero looked at him with a tired look and did not understand whether this was praise or an insult. Khan thought that the 2-year break affected him and his leveling was damn slow. If he trains more, he will be able to use the dive more freely. The main character smiled and hoped that his nasty character would not affect him. The bomb turned to him and said that it was he who had been watching him all the time and telling him he noticed that Khan was using the Academy's fighting style and found out that he had recently entered. Khan asked again and asked who this was because he was seeing him for the first time. Bob replied that he was an employee of the Academy, and Khan Yugal was behind him. The main character became a little modest and replied that he used to study here, but is now on vacation. Khan said that the instructors did not teach him anything. Bob was surprised by these words. Were they really openly discriminating against students? Then Bob asked the Khan if he would like to study with him. Yugal was very strongly called by what he heard. He did not understand why such a great master wanted to train such a fool, and not him. Bob said that he would teach the Khan how to use a ball, hand-to-hand combat, and even a spear. Wuhan's mouth opened in shock when he heard it. He didn't expect that Bob was going to teach him everything he knew. When the main character realized that this man is a master of all classes, Khan imagined that for training, he would take a lot of money that he did not have, and therefore he decided to refuse this offer. Bob smiled and asked if Khan didn't believe it. Bob said that he would prove his strength to him because he does not do this often. He pointed his finger at the Khan and said that they would arrange a check, and then he would say which option is the most suitable for you. A strong energy formed around Bob's right eye. It was called the Adventurer's Eye, which collected information about adventurers. The main character could not understand what was happening to him because this eye was magic. The system began to issue a warning that an outsider was trying to obtain information about the true author of the story. Bob went into the Khan's subconscious and said that he wanted to see what this boy was capable of and what he was like. Bob saw that there was nothing unusual in his mana, and it was simply incredible for him. It was the first time he had seen such a strange person. However, it did not matter to him. Bob decided to check all the information about him. Blue energy began to surround his body. The main character began to have a very bad headache. He felt that there was a being inside him. He didn't understand what he was doing to the Khan, which infuriated him very much. He wanted to drive it out of his body in any way. Suddenly, Bob noticed that his strength began to disappear, and the adventurer's eye worked against him. Bob realized that Khan was a very unusual adventurer and very interesting. The main character was very tired when he kicked him out of his head. He realized that this was the man, the father of the adventurers, whose name was Bob. His magic was much stronger than Khan imagined. He was very strong. Bob sat down to the Khan and said that from that moment on, he was his teacher. It was clear that Bob was very happy about this and said that it was a great honor for him. Yugal said that it was always like this because he believed that he worked harder and had much more skills. But this brat gets all the attention. The next day, Khan simply played video games and relaxed. He was very bored and he was thinking about how to relax. Bob told him that he was busy preparing now and asked him to take advantage of this to relax because after the start of classes, the Khan will beg for mercy. Bob said that even death would not be an obstacle to their training. Then the Khan decided to rest and look for some information. He noticed that all the teachers of the academy were fired because there was a strong scandal. The main character realized that this was the work of Bob, who was the founder of the Adventurers Association. At that moment, a system was highlighted on which it was written that the true author of the story had discovered a piece of information from the book. Khan could not understand how this was connected with his story because he did not remember anything. Eden said that this is called a bastium. Then the main character realized that bastium is a rare ore from the era of destruction. Did it also materialize? Khan thought. The bastium was considered a very rare fragment and very ancient. This stone confirms the existence of God. Even the royal family thought highly of it and bought it every year. In the novel, this mineral is very rare. but it looks like a simple stone. Eden shouted that Khan was talking complete nonsense and did not think that it was a simple stone. And he asked if he knew how valuable the stone was. Khan did not answer him, but thought that of course he knows, because he is the true author. Eden asked him if he knew how to brew a potion. The main character smiled and said that he was a complete zero in this. Eden angrily said that hellish training begins today, and Khan must get Bastium at any cost. Khan did not understand his words, because there was only a week left before the competition. Eden replied that he was absolutely right, but it would be Khan who would suffer, not him. Khan thought from what he heard that Eden was an evil bastard. Medicine or potion can heal a wounded person. You can easily take them with you, and the effect is truly amazing. Khan smiled and said that it was really difficult. If you know alchemy at least at a minimum level, you will be in demand in every guild. This is all that the Khan knew. Khan created his first potion on the first try. He did not understand how he did it. This was a non-standard restoration potion created by a novice who borrowed the knowledge of an expert. The medicine has a quick effect on shallow wounds. That day, Khan was going to immerse himself in a low-level alchemist for about 2 hours. Well, I completely forgot about the fact that Eden is a damn workaholic. Randy almost lost his head from such a volume of information. There were quite a lot of other participants around him. The main character heard a very strong sound and whispered to his right. When he saw this guy, he was very surprised. This was the son of Master Reynolds. He was very successful and a real handsome man. Khan thought that the masters could not take part with him, but the rest of the heavyweights still came. It seemed to him that this kind of thing would not arouse anyone's interest, but here are the artisans, craftsmen. After extracting all kinds of materials in towers and dungeons, adventurers bring them to those who make useful things for craftsmen from them. Only 38 people earned the title of artisan, of which only the 8 best were awarded the title of master. When Khan saw his rivals, he thought that he had come here in vain. Eden told him to stop doing nonsense and not forget what their common goal is. The main character was already tired of Eden's scream. During this time, he had exhausted him very much. The Khan took out a potion and decided to drink it. As soon as he was ready to drink this potion, they suddenly turned to him. Ronald approached him and asked what Khan was drinking. The main character replied that it helps him with fatigue. Ronald asked, "And how can this help him?" He was surprised that Khan was the only one who didn't come up to him and didn't greet him. But judging by his appearance, he is not a member of any group. Ronald knows that masters are forbidden to participate, but he could not think that a street dog like a Khan would be allowed here. He was very angry with the Khan, but did not show it, turned around, and simply calmly said goodbye. Hannah was very hurt by Ronald's words about the street dog and told Eden that he must win at any cost. Eden supported his words and told him to kick that Ronald's ass. The competition had already begun. They were told that they had 2 hours to make potions and they needed to take the required herbs. Ronald believed that he would defeat everyone because even the special equipment was also expensive. Ronald saw the Khan in front of him and was surprised why he was just standing there and doing nothing. Ronald thought that the Khan wanted to fantasize in the midst of the competition. He turned and said that the Khan was not worth his attention. At this time, the workers were making a magic circle that controls gravity, plus a circle of mana concentration. The girl told Bob that his new student is very talented. She smiled and said that the atmosphere in this gym is simply charming, and he will probably like it. Bob said that this is an academy student who took a vacation, which manages to block his unique adventurer eye skill. And this means that the Khan is either equal to Bob or even stronger. Hakiman smiled and said that he just wanted to take care of such a hard worker. That is why he considered himself the father of all adventurers. He looked at his watch and remembered that he had forgotten about today's meeting. Before leaving, he told the girl to look after everything here. The girl was unhappy that he was leaving and leaving all the work to her. Khan was training at this time and using the power of immersion. He plunged into Arian Pepper. This is the student of the greatest alchemist of the Khan novel. Arian Pepper did not achieve special heights in alchemy, but she became the best in mana control. She was well aware of her weaknesses, and therefore read more than 100 books every day, trying to fill in the gaps. Thus, she received the honor of studying with the great alchemist, and she adopted from him the knowledge of her ancestors to which he taught her. Khan said that if he drinks this, he will receive the missing knowledge. At one point, knowledge reached a critical point. Manhwa replenishes the deficiency of mana. He felt a strong immersion in his body. The main character saw that he was surrounded by a lot of information, and he had doubts that he would remember it all. We told him that the difference between the levels was too significant. The main character screamed and said that his head was just going to crack. After everything the main character has gone through, his knowledge and experience in the field of alchemy has increased. Eden looked at him from the side and said that this energy was not at all similar to the one that was used during training, and he needs to adapt to this ability. Khan held his head and said that this is all. If he had not studied all last week, he would definitely have screwed up. The main character ran up to the herbs he saw while he was busy immersing all the ingredients and took them apart. Khan smiled and told Eden that only poisonous plants remained. Eden advised him to prepare poison. He was sure that they would definitely get a couple of points for such a potion that could kill a crowd of monsters. Khan looked at the plants and saw that this plant is called Astandolopia. This is a unique plant, the use of which leads to an increase in body temperature. Consumption without special treatment is fraught with melted veins. Another plant called Barian, by heating, turns into a mucous membrane capable of covering the entire body. Use in cases of serious damage, poisonous for ingestion. Khan said that he completely agreed with him, and it would be very cool to try it. The main character began to quickly collect poisonous herbs. There was very little time left. Khan used the energy to sense the full characteristics of these herbs. He extracted poison that was enough to kill thousands of people. He understood that it was dangerous, but he had no other choice. Drop just one drop. This is a poison with deadly power. The Khan was watched by Ronald's father, who was called Potion Master Reynolds. He looked at the other participants and said that these were just ordinary potions for maintaining immunity or ready-made medicine. He believed that now there is no one who could stand comparison with Ronald. He paid more and more attention to the Khan and thought that he was an idiot who did not know how to use a car. Reynolds believed that Khan did not understand that using the machine would save him a lot of time in which he was limited. The main character processed herbs using energy. Now he had to remove the poison and place it in purified water. Reynolds realized that he was going to purify the poison without using the machine. It not only neutralized the poison, but also improved its beneficial properties. Reynolds believed that this was theoretically impossible, but no one succeeded in this in practice. Well, if Khan makes mistakes, the power of the poison will increase many times, and the effect will spread beyond this place. There will be an explosion with a radius of several miles. Reynolds could not believe that there would be such a crazy person. He believed that he should notify the manager about this. He stood up and shouted that the competition must be stopped immediately, but no one heard him. The crowd of the public was rooting for the Khan. The presenter looked at the statistics on the screen and said that this potion was prepared by a participant named Khan. Reynolds couldn't believe his eyes that he managed to do it. When Ronald heard that he did not win this competition, he was shocked. You have never seen anything like this. The presenter said that the winner is Khan, the one who prepared a unique fire potion. The main character was very glad that he won, and did not expect that it would take so little time. Ronald was very angry at the loss. He took the Khan by the collar and shouted that it was impossible that a newcomer could prepare such a unique potion. Ronald was sure that Khan was 100% cheating. No one had managed to drink this before. At this moment, his father interfered and was dissatisfied with his son's behavior. His father told him not to disgrace him. He has neither shame nor conscience. Ronald answered father that Khan is a fraudster because it is impossible to make such a potion so quickly. Father approached Ronald and replied that he was not blind and knew better about this. Reynolds asked the Khan for forgiveness for his son and forced his son to apologize to him. Reynolds said that he was closely following the competition and noticed that Khan had very good control of mana. He asked who the Khan's mentor was. The main character was a little embarrassed and replied that he was self-taught. From what they heard, father and son were simply in shock. They did not understand how one could achieve such heights without learning from anyone. At this moment, the presenter approached and asked the Khan to come up on stage. Reynolds could not think that in this small country, there would be such a great talent for the whole world, because people like Khan still need to be found. He put his hand on his sad son and said that he was proud of him and he did a good job. Ronald replied that he would work even harder when he returned home. The award ceremony began. With the presentation of the award to the winner, Khan became the winner. The presenter said that Bob would present the award. The main character was surprised because his teacher's name had just been named. At that moment, a smiling being came onto the stage and handed him the cup. Bob realized that Khan decided to participate only because of these stones. Bob learned that he also knew how to brew a potion, and he asked who taught the Khan. The main character again answered that no one taught him, and he was self-taught. Bob smiled and said that Khan never ceases to amaze him, because he had no idea that Khan was also an alchemist. Bob asked if Khan was a member of any guild before becoming his student. Khan replied that of course not. Bob wondered what was special about this stone that Khan decided to fight for. Khan replied furiously, although it looks like an ordinary stone, it is a very valuable ore, and he suggested that the teacher take a look. Khan asked if the teacher knew anyone with this stone. Bob picked up a stone and said that it was not a fact that even he could make something decent out of this piece. Khan repeated that this is not an ordinary stone and asked the teacher to look at the stone with the eye of an adventurer. Bob was surprised that he used the ability on an ordinary stone, but the main character asked him for a very long time because he knew that this stone had a lot of magical powers. Bob didn't understand why he should do this because he believed that it was a simple stone. He used the adventurer's eye and began to try to get information about this stone. After analyzing the system, he received information that the rarity of this stone is unique. Bob was surprised that this ore is a unique rarity. There are still hidden owners. Even the organizers said that it was some unknown mineral. Bob was surprised how Khan found out about this and thought that if he could, he would have questioned him thoroughly. Bob smiled and thought that it would be very interesting for him to watch the Khan and what heights he would reach. He held out this stone and asked that he needed the help of a master. Bob asked me to wait for him for about a month, and he would give it to a friend. It was clear from the Khan's face that he was very happy about this. Bob began to remember that he told Khan to rest, and he was preparing for the competition. Bob told him to go for a walk with his friends because he had prepared a course of hellish training for him, and when these trainings start, he won't be able to have fun anymore. The main character remembered that he had not contacted his friends for a long time and decided that he also needed to rest. Khan remembered that he had not seen his only friend for the past 2 years. He dialed his friend Temin on the phone, but it turned out that he was the first to call him. The Khan was not mentally ready to answer this call. He was about to pick up the phone when he saw Taemin passing in front of him and was shocked by this meeting. Taemin smiled and said that they had not seen each other for a long time. Khan smiled back and was very glad that they went to the same cafe. The main character thought that he was probably the first or second student at the academy. Since his admission, he has managed to demonstrate himself masterfully in all disciplines. This guy was very talented, but most of all, he excelled in the art of wielding a sword. Khan drank water and thought that this was enough to clear the A-class dungeon. Taemin said that Han would be very surprised when everyone found out what happened to him. Everyone turned green with envy. The main character became embarrassed and replied that it would be something to envy. Taemin said that Yuna would show up now. She just read the message and immediately promised to come. Khan was scared because he was not ready for this meeting. The guy was afraid that the young woman would be unhappy with how his fate turned out and what happened to him. Khan recalled that life was difficult for them at the academy. Taemin said that it was hard for Uni when Khan interrupted communication with them. He picked up the phone and asked the Khan to tell him what happened to him. Suddenly, Khan discovered the energy of a follower. He felt that there was black energy behind him. The main character turned around and thought that this was a bad sign, but he did not sense any evil intention. They both got up from the table and felt that something dangerous was approaching. But Yuna came to the door. She smiled and said that they had not seen each other for a long time. They were both surprised to see her now. You felt that something dangerous and scary was coming. Khan thought that the young woman was cursed. Khan was going down the stairs with his homework. He heard that 3 guys were discussing him, that he took first place in the entrance exam, but he didn't have any skills. Khan decided not to pay attention to these conversations and simply walked between them. One of the guys thought that Khan showed disrespect to them when he walked between them, and he tripped him right on the stairs. Khan fell heavily, and his homework scattered in all directions. At that moment, Yuna appeared and shouted what was happening here. She stood in front of the Khan and asked the guys to all apologize to him. Yuna warned them if they continued to discuss the Khan behind his back, then they better shut up. After all, she believed that Khan studied hard, unlike trash like them. One of the guys was very angry when Yuna started talking. He thought that she had gone crazy. The other guys started to stop him and reminded him that she was the daughter of the head of the Heavenly Palace Guild. The guy said that he doesn't care who she is, it doesn't scare him. The girl showed him her middle finger and sent him in all 4 directions. After that, she extended her hand to him and asked if the Khan was okay. The girl said that she and Taemin argued for lunch and she won. Khan recalled that in Tan, during simple school hours, the young woman became his first friend. Taemin and Yuna were famous throughout the academy. Khan recalled that they began to mock him for being unsuccessful as he introduced friendship with the elite of the academy. One day, Yuna beat up this guy who offended the Khan. And although fights in classes were prohibited, the young woman warned him that if he offended the Khan again, he would be in trouble. They trained hard and sparred to stop ridicule of him, Khan recalled. Khan was very grateful to them for this, but at the same time he felt guilty. The girl sat down at the chair and noticed that they were looking at her very strangely, and she asked if something had happened. Taemin said that she doesn't look good, and last time we met she looked much better. Yuna replied that she was fine. The doctor said that she was fine. Khan asked the girl if something strange had happened to her lately. Perhaps you were somewhere, Khan asked. The girl began to think where she had been lately and said that at the academy she was preparing for an excursion to the dungeon. She was sent there for a check. The girl remembered that this was a preliminary inspection of the dungeon, so the professors were with us. When Yuna found herself in the dungeon, she thought that it was a new dungeon, and it seemed to her that there was nothing unusual here. She noticed a red spot on the stone. It seemed to her that it was blood, and she touched this spot. When she touched this spot, she felt that some kind of black energy began to envelop her. But suddenly, this energy suddenly disappeared, and the girl thought that it was an illusion, and the bloody trail disappeared. Teeman was shocked that this really happened to her. The girl said that in some dungeons there are illusory traps, and she decided that it was one of them. Taemin said that it is stupid to decide that this is just a trap and allow this to happen. They felt that her mana was very distorted. The girl smiled and said that they simply instilled fear in her and believed that she was alive and well. Han said that Taemin is right, and they can't just leave it like that. Yuna said that they had not seen each other for 100 years and did not want to bother them with her problem. The main character of ours concentrates energy to feel the problem of Yuna. They were both shocked that Khan could do this, because before he could not control anything and was very weak. Taemin did not understand what happened to the Khan's mana. His mana had a healing light. Since Everton are cults of the generation of the devil, its members are able to borrow demonic power and cast a curse on people. Mana is temporarily modified into divine energy. The hero's mana enhances divine energy. The priest bestows blessings on the Khan. The Khan believed that there was nothing to do. One just had to use divine energy. He looked at his hands and thought that this was complete happiness, Bob. The curse does not have much power. Even though Esther was a junior priest, the Khan believed that his power should be enough. He directed this healing energy to the young woman and told her that she needed to be patient a little. Over time, the aura desecrating the Manu of the youth disappeared without a trace. His friends were shocked by this technique and asked how he pulled it off. The main character was a little embarrassed and said that they had helped him out so many times, this was the least he could do for them. Well, his friends couldn't stop looking at him. It was a healing light, Taemin asked. The girl said that she had only heard about this technique, but she didn't know that this technique really existed. Khan replied that skills are always different, and he did not know how to explain it. Taemin grabbed him and began to throw him in all directions with joy, and said that there was no difference, because the Khan had been waiting for a very long time for the moment of awakening, and it had finally come. The main character asked him to be careful, because now he will break all his shoulders. The young woman had tears in her eyes, because she was happy for the Khan, and always believed in him. You will be looking for a team after graduation, let's sign a slave contract. The boy has grown up completely, Taemin said with a happy face. Khan said that he decided to finally leave the academy because he had a teacher who would be his mentor. Friends were very upset by this news and asked who this teacher was. Khan smiled and said that he would tell them about everything later. I can't tell them what his teacher Bob himself thought, Khan. The main character asked his friends for forgiveness for not being in touch for 2 years, and he said that they were his closest friends. The girl smiled and said that it was okay, because she was very glad that everything was fine with him. Atiman told him not to worry, because they would never have thought that the Khan had abandoned them, but he advised me to call them more often. Khan began to cry and shouted that he was very glad that he had such friends. The main character returned home and immediately fell to the floor. He was very tired that day. Khan had fun with his friends all night, and said that he had not had so much fun for a long time. The system informed the Khan that the task of the episode was completed and he received a reward. Khan had already forgotten that he had saved the young woman from the curse. The system offered him a reward. The main character was very surprised that they were giving a reward for his achievement because this had never happened before. But the system was written that he received a raid on the Academy's dungeon. The Khan was angry from this award and from this news. Everton's raid will begin in 15 days. These bastards will go to the Academy. The Khan was very excited by this news. The main character realized that in this way, his friends would be in great danger. We urgently need to inform the professors, but if the cult members find out about this, then Everton will change their plans. Khan told himself to calm down, because he created Everton and must stop them. He promised himself to stop them at any cost, because others cannot suffer because of him, especially Taemin and Yuna. Khan told himself that only he can accept such things and protect the world. He came to Bob and saw his gym. Khan was very impressed. Bob smiled and said that this is a new place for their training. Under the house, there was a huge underground world. The main character was shocked how such a masterpiece fit in a small basement. After all, this cannot be compared with the Academy's gyms. Khan pointed his finger and saw the 5th generation virtual combat system. The main character was shocked because there is only one such copy in all of Korea, and it is incredibly expensive. Bob said that it is not very expensive and costs only 50 billion. Khan went nuts when he heard this price. Bob said, although he is not an entrepreneur, he still wants his investment to pay off. He hit the Khan on the back and said that you shouldn't worry so much. Just try to train like you did before. He gave the Khan a black box and told him to look at what it was. When the Khan opened this box, he discovered Bastion. It was a unique rarity, the first of its kind. Khan raised this bracelet above eye level and said that this is very delicate work. Bob said that the artisans were asking where he got it, and Khan can't even imagine how much they offered for this mineral. The main character smiled and said that under no circumstances should he be sold, and from this second, he belongs to me. Bob agreed with the Khan and said that we need to start training. Khan stood in the middle of the hall and was in anticipation of what the teacher had prepared for him. The main character thought that he would teach him the art of wielding a sword or control of mana. He also mentioned mastery of a spear and hand-to-hand combat, or magic, Khan reasoned. Suddenly, the door closed sharply and a loud sound appeared. Air circulation in the room was suspended. The air became much smaller. It began to be illuminated by violet ultralamp. The hunt could not understand what was happening. Bob said that he had been racking his brains for a long time about what he could teach him, and remembered that at the academy, he had crammed a lot of theory, and an adventurer needs experience. Therefore, the training hall is desecrated. The system began to inform the Khan that the mana in the air was forcibly polluted, and she reached extreme sensitivity. Suddenly, viscous energy began to envelop the Khan's legs. The main character fell to earth and said that his body did not obey him. It was as if he had fallen into a swamp. Bob said that even though it is virtual reality, it is quite difficult to exhibit. You need to get used to the pollution before entering the dungeon, so brace yourself. Bob was in anticipation. He wanted to see the power of the Khan that was hidden in him. The main character did not understand what to do because he practically could not breathe and he did not have enough air. He told himself that he needed to pull himself together and first regain his breath. Khan managed to restore his breathing with the help of his energy, but this was not the end. Bob was a little surprised that he adapted so quickly than he thought, but this is just the beginning, and said that the dungeon ecosystem is different from ours. Khan should also know that this is the most favorable environment for monsters, and it's not without reason that if someone dies in a dungeon, then his corpse slowly melts, leaving behind only a feeling of burning resentment, until he can dissolve organs and destroy them. So the Khan will not be able to hide his unique abilities. Khan continued to hold his chest because he was exposed to pollution for 55 minutes. The power of pollution increased, and the motor function of the body was lost. The tower has a built-in automatic cleaning system, so Han thought he had never encountered anything like this. He understood that you couldn't get far here on endurance alone. The hero's mana protected his organs from the penetration of filth. If it weren't for this skill, Han would have been in big trouble. The hero's mana is enhanced through continuous purification. Khan understood that he was already at the limit. Bob understood that it was very difficult for him, but he believed that 57 minutes was enough for him. The teacher told him to go out. He was a little upset that he didn't see his ability, but the Khan lasted a long time without this ability and considered him a great fellow. The main character believed that he could use his unique ability because a little more and he simply wouldn't be able to stand it. Bob was furious at his words and said that he was crazy. Bob shouted at him that he had been sitting for a whole hour without an ability, although he could use it, and he asked the Khan what he was waiting for. The main character smiled and said that he didn't know that it could be used right away. Bob shouted that the dungeon is not a joke for him, and he needs to be taken seriously. Then Eden appeared and said that Khan behaved well, but without it, he would not have lasted even a minute. Eden gave him a lot of strength. This skill was called Hero Mana. Khan smiled and said that he was right. Not only divine energy can resist demonic energy, it's pure concentrate, which only 7 heroes possess. The main character said that this is the hero's mana, and with this skill, it was quite easy for the Khan. Khan began to meditate and fill his hands with pure energy in the form of a ball. God couldn't wait to see if he started using a unique ability. Khan thought that he could cleanse this pollution that was around him, but did not understand who to choose. He used the immersion, which was called the Minor Priest of Esther. The system reported that his mana was temporarily modified by divine energy. The priest blesses Khan. The priest's protection is activated. The main character began to understand that immersion in low-level characters no longer traumatizes him. Divine energy is quickly regenerated throughout the body. Organ decomposition is prevented. Bob realized that this was the descent of the spirit. Well, then he should lose consciousness when using this skill, thought Bob. Khan told Bob that he was ready, and he feels very good. Bob could not believe that the main character was still conscious, because after this technique, he was supposed to fall and lose consciousness. Khan noticed that the teacher was acting a little strange and asked him if he was doing something wrong. Bob said that Khan is doing everything right and he needs to continue. Bob looked at him from the side and said that he had never seen anything like this. He realized at that moment that his potential was much higher than the strength of his class. After such endurance, the Khan fell to the ground, completely exhausted. Boba recorded the time and Khan managed to hold out for 3 hours and 28 minutes. Bob took him as a student, but he could not even think that the Khan was such a monster. The main character heard the monster's word and asked if it was a compliment or an insult. Bob smiled and said that it was more like admiration than a compliment. Bob jokingly told him not to pretend and get back on his feet, or you'll get praise for your effort. The main character began to shout indignantly that the teacher was wrong and it was really hard for him. Bob came into the center of the arena and said that they would start the fencing lesson right now. Khan was surprised that right now, because he didn't even have time to rest after the first test. Bob jokingly said that because of Khan, he was at work, and Khan would study exactly as much as he took away his time, but first, he said that he would cripple Khan. The main character did not understand the humor, and said indignantly that Bob himself said that he should hold out as long as he could. Bob shouted that Khan had the nerve to argue with, and he began to fight with. The sound of the battle was heard throughout the whole house, and everyone around heard these sounds. Khan looked at his muscles and said that training was very effective, and he built up his muscles and improved his characteristic. During his entire studies, he collected information about the dungeons that the academy was going to visit. Excursions coming up in a week. They will build a dungeon next to the tower directing the light. Luckily, the dungeon is low level. Khan said that he would also introduce bodyguards to each student. He hoped that nothing would happen there, especially since there would be professors there. For the past week, Khan has been preparing for their raid. Thanks to his teacher's training, he not only got into shape, but also accelerated the turnover of mana. Now he has no problems with low-level immersion. Alchemy has also improved a bit. Therefore, the Khan began to brew middle-class potions and earn money for them at auction. The main character entered the artifact store and was very impressed when he saw how many different items were there. He noticed a sword of the rarest class, and it costs 1,000,000,000 won. Khan purchased high-class weapons with proceeds from the sale of potions. Holding the sword has become much easier. The main character said that with these trainings he had gained a lot and would easily defeat these Everton freaks. Eden looked at him from the side and did not understand what he was doing. Khan began to admire his skills and said that having a heroic skill is so difficult and lonely. Suddenly the phone rang. It was Bob. Khan was surprised that the teacher was calling him at such a time. The main character answered the call with worry because he was afraid that he had done something wrong. Bob said that the association asked him for a favor, saying that the safety of students came first. Bob decided to go there as general manager. Khan did not understand that it would be unsafe there. There would be many professors and guards there, and also his teacher. This dungeon was of low rank. The main character shouted that he would go with his teacher because it would be very safe there. Bob did not expect that the Khan wanted to go with him because that dungeon was of a very low rank. Khan said that he left the academy because Bob took him under his wing. Since the Khan does not have an adventurer's license, he cannot enter the dungeon. Bob shouted the phone that Khan began to blame him. The main character immediately began to make excuses and said that this is not what he meant and he needed dungeon experience. Bob said that he would take him with him. After all, he was worthy to go with him to a dungeon, where he could clear a lower-ranked dungeon single-handedly. The teacher told the Khan that he allowed him to go with him, but on the condition that the Khan would not leave a single step from him. A week later, the Khan corresponded with his friends at night. They were surprised how he was allowed to go to the dungeon without having an adventurer's ticket. At this moment, the Everton Mafia knew for sure that the girl had fallen into a trap, but they did not feel any reaction from her and did not understand what had happened. One of the villains said that they had to prepare the seeds again. This is a low-level dungeon, and they will let their guard down, and then the villain wanted to sow them. In case of a mistake, whoever sows will say goodbye with his life. These were the cruel rules of the Everton gang. They called him Number 10. Because this gang had hidden names and only had numbers. The next morning, the Khan came very sleepy. He noticed that there was no one around him and thought that he had arrived too early. Suddenly, his friend Siren appeared behind him. She asked what he forgot here. Khan did not answer the question and asked about her and thought that she was also going on a dungeon excursion. The girl smiled and said that she was accepted because she was a scholarship holder. The main character was worried because he felt that great danger was approaching and was afraid for Siren's health. After 5 minutes, Yuna and Taemin also came. They were very happy to meet. Taemin told Khan that yesterday he wrote in the chat that he was going on an excursion and did not understand how those who had dropped out could take part. Then Siren found out that he was expelled because she always thought that he was on vacation. Taemin told Siren that Han left the academy because he had a teacher. Siren shouted at Han that he didn't tell her the truth all the time and asked who this teacher was. Serene was surprised and didn't understand what Bob was doing here. All the friends looked at Bob with admiration and were very glad that he would go with them. Khan was a little scared because he had not yet told them that Bob was his teacher. The main character covered his face with his hands because he was very ashamed in front of his friends. He didn't tell them because he didn't want to attract attention. Bob went up to the guys and greeted the Khan and said that he should also say hello since he saw him. "Don't say you're pretending you don't know your teacher," Bob said with complaint. Khan smiled and told his friends that this was his teacher. Everyone was simply shocked because Bob himself teaches the Khan. Serene held her head and said that she was simply shocked that God himself was teaching him. Taemin asked how the two of them met because it's just incredible. Yuna was a little offended by the Khan because how could he hide such a secret from them? They entered the darkness of the creek. The corrupted magical power weighs on them all. Taemin turned to Yuni and said something not very similar to what she was talking about. After all, she was telling something about the forest. Yuna was scared because it was very creepy around her. And I wanted to inform the professor about this because they definitely said that they would go to the lowest level. Serene was also very scared and wanted to get out of here as quickly as possible and stick with the guys. Behind him was his old classmate who hated Khan because Bob chose Khan instead of him. He didn't understand why this guy was still here and said that he hated him with all his soul. Search by name of the darkness of the scream in the original novel. The true author of the story has been activated. Khan didn't understand what the darkness of scream was. Was it really not mentioned in the book? Suddenly, they see a bunch of zombies in front of them who want human flesh. One of the guys asked what it was, because during an early inspection of the dungeon, everything was clean. Bob said that no one should worry and that no one should figure it out. Suddenly, Khan remembered them in his novel. The word ghost came to his mind. The main character began to worry very much because he began to remember the plot of this story. Khan shouted so that no one would attack them under any circumstance. Bob was surprised because he believed that if they did not attack them, they would die. Khan said that these were devilish spirits. He understood that just looking at them would already give you goosebumps. But the main character advised us to take a closer look at them and noticed that they did not attack them. If they were going to attack us, they would have done it immediately. Bob did not understand the Khan and asked how he could be sure of this. The main character answered that this is obvious, and he is familiar with this episode in history. Khan did not want to talk about his true novel, and said that he had read about it in a book. Now they are not devilish ghosts, but if they attack, something irreparable will happen. One of the guys shouted that Khan had gone crazy and was not going to indulge the words of this kid. Bob checked the Khan with the eye of an adventurer and did not find any in these words. Bob decided to listen to the Khan and said that they would not attack first, but would keep their eyes open until they attacked the monsters first. Everyone was shocked by this order because they believed that such an order would only ruin them. One of the guys thought that this was complete nonsense and said that Bob was absolutely wrong. Bob looked at him sideways and said that he would listen to all their complaints later. The head of the fencing department entered the conversation and supported this guy. He told Bob that he understood that he cared about his student, but this did not give anyone the right to forget about the safety of others. The head of the fencing said that he hoped that the Khan would show them something without being worth it, but it turns out that he said so as a result of simple fear. Khan did not agree with his words and said that this was not due to fear. It was difficult for the main character to explain the reason, but as long as they had a chance to understand their indignation, they were able to pass this dungeon without harming anyone. The head of fencing thought that Khan was a funny guy, and he was talking nonsense. Bob shouted for everyone to calm down first, because going to the dungeon does not necessarily entail a battle. The teacher supported the Khan and said that there are devilish ghosts here that should not be attacked. Now, it's better to think about how to get through this dungeon, and he advised the head of fencing to be more restrained. The main character sighed, because he thought that he could save lives and ghosts from attack. The head of fencing walked on his conviction, but he believed that he was right. He attacked with all speed to destroy these monsters. Khan shouted that he should not attack them because it would be very dangerous. The head of the fencing destroyed these monsters with one attack and said that Khan stopped him from such an easy task. The main character was scared then because he told himself that he had to stop him at any cost. Bob was unhappy that he did not listen to him and reminded him that he was responsible for this expedition. The head of the department was shocked because he considered the Khan's words to be real madness. Bob said that being in the dungeon, everyone should be skeptical about everything and perceive everyone as hostile. The guy smiled at his words and asked that these words were in his textbook. Bob turned and said that the guy should know what group leaders do with those who ignore their orders and do everything their own way. After these words, the guy got scared and closed his mouth. Khan said that now is not the right time for arguments and we need to prepare for the worst. Bob asked the Khan if they could still intervene in this battle, The main character replied that it was too late. They should not have been touched in the first place. Everyone began to notice that the zombies had become quite stronger. Their mana increased 10 times. They all became devilish spirits. They said only one word, that they would kill all these people. The guy screamed in fear. He had never seen such creatures in his life. The head of the department grabbed his neck. He didn't have enough air. He slowly began to die. Bob called Siren to him and asked her to take the head of the department to the shelter, because if he dies, there will be a lot of problems. Serene listened to Bob's words and said that his task would be completed 100%. The main character said that physical attacks on them would not work and asked for a chance to try to drive them out. Khan claimed that he knew about this dungeon and should be listened to. God began to yell at him. He asked the Khan if he was still going to do nothing. After all, they attack people. Khan said that they can be quite dangerous, and if they continue to be attacked, everyone will die. The main character said that he was going to use all his strength to protect his friends. After all, Khan did nothing but accept their help. The main character asked Bob to trust him, and then he would promise that he would protect everyone. Bob believed him, did not give him the ring and told him to put it on. He promised to intervene if the Khan failed to defeat these monsters. The main character asked what this ring is for, how this ring will help him. Bob replied that Khan is a wolf in sheep's clothing or something like that, and he advised him to continue to play his role. Khan smiled and jokingly asked Bob where he got this, and thanked him for everything, even though the Khan said that they would control it completely on their own. However, after the transformation of the ghosts of devilish spirits, his chances of victory greatly decreased. But the main character promised himself that he was obliged to do so. He believed that it was his fault that they became like this. These children were abandoned by their parents, and also used in war as human shield. They lost their parents on the battlefield and died orphaned. They have endured enough torment and want to take revenge on people for their torment. So it doesn't have to end in a fight. What these children need is ordinary peace. Khan plunged into the temple eroticism of Michael Condor. Michael Condor is a man who spent his entire childhood under the tutelage of the priests of a small temple. And by cultivating a priest within himself, he saved an endless number of souls outside the temple, after the epiphany granted to the real world. The main character understood that Michael was a higher level, and he very much doubted that he would succeed. The bringer of light found the Khan. He saw in front of him a girl named Prina. Khan didn't expect to see Prine here. Adam didn't expect to see her here either. It was clear from the reaction that they knew each other. Adam didn't understand how the Khan knew his teacher, and he asked himself the question of who he was. The Khan's bracelet began to rise up. He grabbed this bracelet and plunged his mana into this bracelet. Bob looked at this from the side and was shocked that the Khan was using magic. Bob recalled that he used it in the first lesson, but this time the magic was 10 times stronger. The teacher could not understand how Khan became so strong in just 2 weeks. Very heavy rain appeared, and the devilish spirits began to retreat. Everyone wondered what happened. Everyone saw Prin in front of them, who was looking at them with a sideways glance, as if through them. Print stretched out her hands. There was a Khan's cross, in which there was a lot of mana. And although the children became evil spirits from bad decisions, in the original, the episode ended with a funeral in honor of the dead children. Khan said that he must act like the true author of history and save them. Everyone began to notice that the devilish spirits were looking up and starting to cry. They began to turn into dust and go to heaven. After all this, the Khan fell from a height unconscious. Everyone was worried about him and hoped that he was okay. Bob said that this was to be expected because he had expended a lot of energy in a short period of time. He had never encountered power with such strong recoil. Suddenly, a lot of blood flowed from the Khan's company. Bob shouted for everyone to move quickly because the Khan urgently needed to see a doctor and ordered to request a regeneration potion from the association. At this moment, when Khan was unconscious, they were attacked by black spirits. Bob turned and saw men in a raincoat in front of him. One man said that if they do not want to be embodied in life, then they need to give them the 8th hero. Bob told the guys to keep an eye on the Khan, and they took him to the hospital as soon as possible. The man shouted that they would leave this place only over his corpse. Bob said that he needs to go to the hospital right now, and he doesn't have time. He destroyed one cloaked man with one attack. Bob said he didn't have much time, so he had to deal with these men quickly. The next day, Khan woke up. He saw a teacher in front of him cutting an apple. Bob told him that he lay unconscious for 3 days and scared everyone a lot. The main character asked what happened in the dungeon because he lost consciousness and doesn't remember anything. The teacher replied that everything was fine and everyone remained alive. The teacher put his hand on the Khan's head and said that he was a great fellow, and when he lost consciousness, all the nobles were scared. Bob smiled and said that he was worried about his thoughtless use of this skill because he could die because of it. After that, Bob said that he had very sad news and bad news. Khan was very scared because he thought that this was connected with his friends. Bob smiled and asked Khan why he didn't tell his parents that he left the academy. He was not in the know and accidentally told his parents. The main character got very angry and called Bob an old man. Bob shouted how he should have known and this should be warned about. Khan came to his homeland and said that a lot of time had passed. I haven't been here since I went to the academy. That was more than 2 years ago. The main character recalled telling his parents that he received the highest score at the academy. He was then admitted to the academy for the title of best student. He entered the house and saw in front of him a serious father and a joyful mother. Hans ate his mother's food and said that it was the most delicious food in the world. Khan's father was very indignant at him, that he not only took a leave of absence from the academy, but completely abandoned his studies. The father recalled how Khan tried to get there, but on the one hand, the dungeons were dangerous, and leaving the academy on the one hand was the right decision. Mom suggested that he look for a safer and quieter job because she was worried 2 months ago when the dungeon was discovered. The main character then remembered that 2 months ago at that time, he finished writing his novel. Khan went into an ordinary forest, looking for a good place somewhere nearby. The main character began to check the surroundings using mana. Progressive academic skill has been discovered. The radius of the ability has been doubled. Khan could not understand what was happening. He believed that the radius was too huge. Eden asked what surprised him so much. He received this for the recent clearing of the dungeon, the improved systematization of mana. Khan said that there was a very unexpected gain. The detection radius probably reached 1 kilometer. Eden said that this is very little, because he should at least see the entire territory of the mountain. Khan continued to walk and look for the energy that he felt in the distance. He saw in front of him a portal to a dungeon, and doubted whether he should go into this dungeon or not. The system reported that the difficulty of this dungeon is low. The Khan said that it does not look like dungeons of a low difficulty level. At this time, the Adventurers Association has a forensic department. Bob and the scientist began to study the body that God took out last time in the dungeon. The scientist said that studying this body took him a lot of time. Bob said that unfortunately there was no more information on his body other than the tattoo. No one had any idea about his origin. Bob began to remember his words. He remembered that he said that he asked to give him the 8th hero. Bob began to wonder who this 8th hero was. Edom told the Khan that this was an elementary dungeon and began calling the Khan a coward. The main character thought that perhaps it was worth notifying the association about him. Edom said that there is no time because a monster breakthrough could happen at any moment. Khan agreed with him and said that the difficulty level was really very low. The Khan was going to enter there alone, but he was worried that the difficulty would increase again. Suddenly, a golden system window appeared, saying that it was very disappointed. It was Prina. It was displayed as a golden window. Eden advised her to leave here and not to interfere in their conversation. Prina said that he was the same rude person he was. Khan could understand his connection with Eden, but he didn't know how to explain the fact that he could communicate with other characters. I thought that there was a special contact here, similar to the one that was in the darkness of Scream. Prina told Khan to cast aside doubts because last time he managed to help the students and believed that Khan would cope with all the difficulty. The main character smiled and thanked Prinu for his support. Khan extended his hand forward and said that the dungeon is close to the house, so we need to act as quickly as possible. The guy confirmed his desire to enter this dungeon through the system. The dungeon was called the Path of Choice. Khan woke up at home and heard a loud sound from the phone. He abruptly jumped up from the sofa and did not understand why he was sleeping. His last memories were that he entered the dungeon. Well, he woke up in an ordinary sofa. The main character looked at his objects and realized that he had gone back in time. The Path of Choice is a test that is based on a journey through the memories of the Khan. The locations began to change, and he was transported to the Academy's training hall. Khan did not understand what he should do, did not understand his mission in this dungeon. Suddenly, there was a strong flash. The main character could not understand what happened and what it was. Khan understood that this scene duplicated the events that passed the final certification. He remembered his enemy, who offended him in sparring and bullied him all the time. The main character looked at himself from the outside and did not understand why this should be shown to him. Khan received an email that said, "Dear student, this is the department of the Academy. We would like to remind you that you have 4 days of academic leave left. We inform you that exceeding this limit is punishable by exclusion." The dungeon revealed the Khan's fear, and I realized that Khan was afraid all the time in his youth. Opposite him appeared his enemy, who wanted to drink all the foolishness from him. The main character began to understand the whole essence of the test. He again needs to fight with this idiot. In the past, he was very afraid of him. Khan told himself to leave fear, because this is just an illusion created by the dungeon. The main character told himself that his enemy was as young as he was 2 years ago. Kan believed that he had become strong enough and was confident that this time he could easily defeat him. The battle began. Yugil immediately attacked him, waving his sword. Kan blocked his blow. Yugil was a little surprised that Kan was able to block his blow. How he thought that he was a dumb cretin because his first blow was aimed at the head. Yugil smiled, and I said that you won't save him. The main thing is that I decided to use the immersion force, but the system prohibited the use of immersion force. Kan did not understand why his technique was prohibited. At that moment, Yavel kicked the Kan in the stomach. The blow was quite strong. Yugil shouted that he had no chance of winning against him. Yugil wanted to destroy the Kan and use the tornado swing technique. After this blow, the Kan lay on the ground with his face to the floor. Yugil said that he had been destroyed and asked if he was surrendering. Yugil continued to kick the Kan and provoked him with various words. Eden watched this picture from the side and could not understand why the Kan did not answer because this was not like him. He really will serve such an idiot. This is not the Kan I know, said Iden. The main character thought that everything would happen again. He would remain nothing without his unique skill. Kan kept asking himself the question, will I never be able to surpass him? Eden shouted to the Kan what he was doing and why he was not answering. Iden said that he was ashamed of him and did not expect that the Kan was one of those who gave up easily. What happened to the guy who rose from the dead in his tower? Or, it's all about your injury. It's funny to think that you will crawl after a couple of missed blows. It's just an illusion, but it's enough for the Kan to get down on all fours and crawl. The main character shouted at him to shut up and said that you are not easy for him, and he does not understand anything. But it's still true. Kan hated himself for conforming to reality. That's why I created this novel in which there is an Eden who never gives up. Kan rose from the ground and promised Iden to end this quickly. Yugil said that Kan had completely gone crazy because he did not take him seriously. Yugil attacked the Kan and shouted that he could offer him a bunch of other things. The main character repelled his attack by hitting him in the face with a sword. Eden laughed and said that he had finally recovered. Kan said that he had come to his senses and could fight at full strength. Yugil was furious. He did not understand how such a loser as Kan could hit him. Blood started coming out of his mouth. You think you can handle me just because I played along with you a little? I'll try to make you fall from this ring, half-witted, Yugil said. Yugil used stealth mode and disappeared from the field of Zora Khan. He managed to hit the Kan, but the main character managed to block his attack with the ball. Kan was shocked because he did not feel his presence at all. Hey, weakling, why don't you try to hit me again? Yugil Khan provoked him. The main character realized that things were not very good and used a progressive academic skill. He began to discover where Yugil was. The effects of the improved monosystematization skill have increased significantly. He blocked the blow of the Jugil with very high speed. Yugil was shocked that Kan was able to block such a quick blow. He did not understand how his ability could be so ineffective against such a non-entity. Yugil attacked him again and thought that the Kan was simply lucky that he repelled his attack. Kan understood that if he had used this technique 2 years ago, it would have been a big problem for him. Now I easily repulsed his attack with a simple wave of my hand. Fucking degenerate, who the hell are you? Shouted Jugil. I looked at the Kan and saw that there was another guy behind him. It was a strong energy that emanated from the Kan. The main character used his technique and defeated Yugil. Isis asked with a trembling voice who he was and where he got such power from. Kan came closer and said that he was no longer being intimidated by him. The next day, the Kan was leaving his parents. They asked him to promise them more often, otherwise they would forget what he looked like. The main character replied that he was also glad that he was at home, and that he managed to take revenge on Yugil, although it was an illusion. Things went well further. The Kan also managed to prevent the monsters from escaping from the dungeon. Yuna appeared behind him and asked why he was looking at the black screen. The main character was very scared and asked what she was doing here. Shouldn't she be at the academy now? Yuna smiled and replied that she also dropped out of school. Kan was shocked by this answer and thought that she had gone crazy. Yuna shouted at him and said that what right did he have to be angry because she dropped out. Kan replied that he had the right because she could graduate from the academy and just get a lot of privileges. In addition, she studied very well. Taemin heard that they were arguing and asked what happened. He smiled and said that he also left the academy. Kan asked why they did this and why they needed it. Yuna replied that this is very cool, and they can study together and prepare for the adventurer exam. That mister said that we can train together in the gym. Kan was surprised that she called Bob Mister, and I thought that he might be unhappy if you address him like that. After all, he prefers to be called a teacher. Yuna replied that he said that he was not against any nickname. That's right. This mister seemed like a nice person to us, and they believed that Khan misunderstood him. Taemin said that he allowed us to draw up a plan for our classes independently. Khan was very angry because he understood what kind of old man did this for a reason. Taemin asked what pissed him off so much, because they would train hard together. The main character thought where his teacher was now because he had not seen him for a long time. At this time, at the Adventurers Association, the Bean was there. He was talking on the phone. They told him that they had captured another idiot drawing a magic circle. Bob said that now there are a lot of them divorced because he also muttered that someone would call on the devil. It doesn't look like these are just ophthalmologists. You can't turn a blind eye to this because there are quite a lot of them. Bob noticed these magic circles, the same symbol as on the body of that freak in the dungeon. Bob told them to continue working and be on guard all the time because now is a very dangerous time. Khan went to the artifact store and said that he had earned some money from selling potions and was thinking about what equipment to buy this time. He turned to the right because he heard that someone began to address him. In front of her stood a man with glasses who presented him with an incomprehensible black thing. He said hello and said that this was their first meeting after they offered him the position of analyst. The man heard that Khan had recently awakened and congratulated him on this holiday. It was the leader of a group of scouts whose name was Chan. Khan greeted politely and thought that Yuna had told him this news. After all, he was her father. Then said that he heard that Khan takes good care of Yuna. The main character smiled and said that no, because she is the one who takes care of him. He heard rumors that Han and the young woman were applying for an adventurer's license, and he invited them to his guild after passing the exam. Hulk thanked him for the offer, but he would feel a lot of pressure if he joined the guild related to his girlfriend, and asked for forgiveness. Chan was upset because he understood that he could not influence his decision. Than said that he had a busy schedule, wished him all the best, and left. Eden asked what this man saw in the Khan, and why he so wanted him to join his guild. The main character did not begin to be modest, and said that it was obvious because he was a genius. Chan sat on the ground and was shocked that his unique truth class skill could not get closer. He was rejected even before his ability was assessed. In 91, he had never encountered this. When they were in the gym, it was much easier. He felt that great powerful energy was coming from the Khan. Chan said that everything will change soon, and he must get close to the Khan at any cost. The main character put on headphones so that people wouldn't think he was crazy when he was talking to Eden and Print. Printa said that Khan will not be able to use all this. It seemed to her that he had gone too far with his purchases, but Khan was convinced that they would be useful to him underground, and prepared for this in advance. The main character discovered an object imbued with Everton energy. Everton again. What are these bastards up to this time? Khan believed that he needed to use detection in the alley. He came to one alley and thought that this place was safe enough. Used progressive academic skill detection, he started looking inside the store and found an object with a follower's mark. He noticed that a black shadow was on the ground floor. The main character went there and noticed that there was an Everton sign there. Eden asked how he knew about this sign. Khan realized that he had spilled the beans and said that he saw it in the book. Prin asked if he knew how to use divine power and promised that she would teach him how to create holy water. The main character thought that he knew how to do it. Everton Magic Circle is mainly used to summon the devil. This magic circle can only be erased by holy water. Luckily, his measuring bracelet has a spare. Eden asked why he needed this water. Prin replied that she had just explained everything. The main character was glad that he did not need to immerse himself in holy water to do so. But he understood that he couldn't relax just yet, because he needed to check this place for the presence of other magic circles. Khan began to look at the area and was shocked. He shouted that there were a lot of magic circles within a radius of only 1 kilometer. His body began to tremble when he imagined how many of these magic circles were scattered throughout the city. The Everton gang understood that he was erasing the magic circles on his own, and asked themselves whether they should intervene. The guy I met, wasn't he the 8th hero? The 8th hero could become a serious obstacle to their plan. Their job was to remove him from the equation before it was too late. As they expected, the 8th hero would continue to put a spoke in their wheels. He easily completed the first round. He must be using divine power in this case. It is necessary to eliminate the Khan while this is possible. The gang understood that every day he would become weaker, and it would be harder to kill him. One man said that he could cope with him and was just waiting for an order. The head said that there is no need for meaningless sacrifices. After all, It is impossible to get rid of all the magic circles alone if the family is in danger of extinction. The Apostle of God will respond to the magic circle and protect the seed. Shit my back. Crazy Everton nerds here. There were so many magic circles. Khan thought since there were circles here, then the family curse must be nearby. He was unable to even figure out the magic circle, and the Khan wondered how to find the family. To summon a demon, you need magic circles and a curse seed. If planted with them in a person who is used as a vessel of mana, a demon will be born from that seed. The problem is that it is not easy to find. To do this, you need to directly use divine power. The main character believed that he should turn to the teacher for help because he understood that he alone did not destroy all these circles. Khan corresponded with the teacher as Siren noted. She said hello and asked how Wuhan was feeling. When you were discharged from the hospital, Khan replied that not so long ago and asked how she knew that he was here. The girl smiled and said that she noticed him from the window and said that she would buy him something to drink to celebrate the day of recovery. Suddenly, the main character hears a heartbeat. He couldn't understand what was happening because he definitely heard the sounds of his heart. The system reported that the true author of the story had discerned an anomalous flow of mana. He noticed that he saw the curse again, the same thing that was on the young woman. He asked for the girl's hand and said that he needed to be convinced of something. She extended her hand and felt very strong pain, and she asked what it was. No one thought that it was due to static electricity. Khan discovered that this was the seed of a curse, and this is a reaction to divine power. The main character thought that maybe during the dungeon trek, if so, enough time had passed for the seed to adapt. Fortunately, there was still time before completion. It had not yet penetrated into the core of Saren's mana, which means it could still be removed. Khan smiled and thought that maybe it would be easier than he thought. Additional difficulties would arise if the summoning of the demon was completed. Saren did not understand why the Khan was laughing, because she was in great pain. The main character said that now it will hurt again, and he will atone for his guilt with something tasty next. The girl got scared and asked what he was going to do. Khan stood up and used the diving technique in Michael Condor. After all, until the seed has stabilized, it needs to remove it. One of the men said that he wouldn't do that, smiling worldly. There was a loud sound and the windows were broken into small pieces. Eden and the prince did not understand what had happened and hoped that everything was fine with the Khan. The main character said that everything was fine with him and he was ready to fight. He shouted, "Who are you?" and asked not to hide. The guy with red eyes said that he greatly ruins their plan. He attacked the Khan and shouted for him to die. It was clear from their faces how scared they were, because his enemy was quite fast. But at that moment, Teacher Bob appeared and hit this guy from Everton with all his might. Bob shouted how dare he attack his student. This is punishable by death. Khan asked how he ended up here. Bob replied that he finished work earlier than expected. The teacher advised that Khan take refuge in a safe place, and he will absolutely cope. The enemy began to smile, because it was funny to him that Bob was hoping to defeat him. He read that his blow was too rough, and an ordinary fighter would have fallen dead long ago. The teacher was shocked, because he was sure that he had broken his neck and did not understand why he was alive. The man said that he is an apostle and serves Satan. Bob said that he is a freak and his death is inevitable. Amal said that no one should think that he is an ordinary priest. After all, he is an apostle, recently blessed by their great deity. Our God answers prayers differently than yours. 1048 pre-prepared magic circles resonate simultaneously. The teacher was shocked and did not understand what it was. Mahan was also shocked because he did not know that there were so many of them left. He understood that it was better to remove some seeds at a minimum. This will protect people's lives. The main character notices that Siren disappeared. No one understood what happened. She found herself above the apostle. The apostle asked if Khan knew what they loved most. He smiled bloodthirstily and replied that fear, human fear, is what attracts people most of all. People looked and did not understand what was happening to the sky. A black hole appears in the dungeon. A dark shadow began to emerge from this black hole. She began to surround people and inhabit their bodies. The main character understood that things were bad. This shadow was drawing away the souls of people who did not have mana. If Saren absorbs all these souls, he will become a demon. Khan said that he had to get rid of the seed as soon as possible. The apostle said that Khan was doing something stupid because it was too late and everything was already predetermined. He read that the Khan could not change anything, and soon the demon will descend to this world. The main character didn't understand what the hell he was talking about. I called him a damn piece of shit. The teacher shouted, "What a demon," because he seems to be an adult but behaves like an idiot. The apostle smiled and asked if he really wanted to die so quickly. He attacked Bob and said that if he had an ace up his sleeve, They should show everything they are capable of. The teacher smiled and said how he knows everything anyway, and there is no need for this. It was unexpected for the Khan that his teacher was so strong. He understood that he had distracted this demon, and you need to take advantage of this moment to destroy the seed. The main character felt a terrible energy behind him and turned around in fear. He saw in front of him a Siren who had turned into a demon. Khan immediately began asking her if she remembered him. The demon's voice was not from that. It sounded like the grinding sound of pieces of metal rubbing against each other. Even her voice matches the description from the novel. Khan was in despair because he thought that he could do nothing more. After all, it was practically impossible to save a person who had turned into a demon. Tears appeared in the Khan's eyes because he understood that he had to stop her at any cost. The main character used immersion, and with the help of Prin, locked her in a cage. Khan used the divine technique and shouted that he was putting her on trial in the name of the Lord. The main character cried and said that he was very sorry for Siren, but only in such a cruel way can the demon be stopped. He saw that his technique did not help, and Siren was full of strength. She attacked the Khan and shouted what he had done to her. Bob heard this sound and was worried because there were children there. The apostle noticed that Bob had lowered his guard and attacked, but the teacher managed to turn around and slammed the apostle into the wall with a kick. Well, this blow did not kill the demon, and he said that this was not enough for him. The main character understood that things were bad. Even his trump card, were useless here. He was angry with himself because he was very pathetic compared to her. He believed that if he were stronger, who could save Siren and save people from danger? Khan should not have written that damned novel. He cried and asked Siren to come to her senses.